So, quick recap in part one is that Iris and Roman are both correct. They're both competing for columnist position at this newspaper, the Gazette. Roman is a rich one. His family is quite well off. Iris, they're struggling. Her brother just left to war. It's a time of war, and it's just her mom left. But then we find out that her mom dies at the end of part A of the story, and she's all by herself, and she's now thinking, what am I going to do with myself? And she's grieving. That's where we stopped. So part of her grieving is that she now wrote a letter to that person she's writing letters to, the person that when she slips notes under her wardrobe, it disappears and goes to him, and he receives her letter and then he writes back. So she just told him that the thing about her grief is that she's tired of being left alone. Her grandma died, that's her nan, and then her brother left for war, and now her mom left. Why is she always the one they leave behind? Why? That kind of thing. So she's like, no one can save her from this, the way she's feeling. Like, she knows no one can save her from her grief, even if Forrest were to return and things like that, because people don't have their lives figured out. So it's up to her right now to know where to go from here. So Roman wrote her back, and then he now shared the story of his own grief, of his sister Georgiana Delaney. That's her name, but he used to call her Del. And this girl died on her 7th birthday because of him. What happened was that she was this adventurous, lively child. She was born when he was 8 years old, so he was really quite tight to her, that big brother thing and things like that. And this is a child who likes to play a lot, like jump up and down, all those boisterous children that will not sit one place. So the thing now, she wanted to go to the lake, to swim and things like that. She's always dragging him to do one thing or the other, even though he will not want to do, but he will agree. So on this day now, it was her 7th birthday, and she wanted to go to this lake beyond the wall. And, he just dragged him, and he couldn't say no to her. So they went, and he was watching her. They would take the swing, and everything was going okay. So just this one time, just to let him close his eyes for 1 minute, just 1 minute. Next thing, he wakes up, and her lifeless body is floating. And that's so Trump. He had to carry her lifeless body back home. Do you get, the extent of the trauma and things like that? And, they were mourning. Around that same time, a month later, as, into the morning, a goddess came to him in his dream. At that time, he was 15. She now offered to take away the grief. But to do that, she also take away the memories of Dell. So he refused. He's like, he'd rather have his sister's memories with the grief, because they're not all bad memories. So he let her know that you're not alone in your grief, okay? Then at the office the next day, Iris, she kept Roman at arm's length, okay? Remember, she does not know she's writing to him. She just thinks she's writing to a nameless, faceless boy that's probably not in the same time as her. So she was snacky because, when he came, I was like, because he told her, you look well today, we know. And then she now retorted, are you implying I looked ill before, Kurt? Zeb Autry, their boss, he called for Iris to enter his office. He didn't give her a chance to explain anything, because all he called her to do was to tell her that she's been bad at work, this one, that one. And Iris was just quiet. So when she left that office, Iris was like, why did I let him walk all over me? What sort of person am I becoming? I don't like this. So she wrote obituaries that day, including her mother's own. The next day, Iris overslept. So when she came to work, her boss was mad. So that he had decided he already gave the columnist position to Roman. And Roman, surprisingly, was like, give us one more chance. And even the guy was surprised. You and this girl not competing for this thing. Have you people not been fighting? How do you want me to give her more chances? When he was like, the boss was like, I am not doing that. I've decided that she's inconsistent. It's you that have been delivering well, delivering on time. This is that. Roman was now broke the news that actually Iris lost her mother. Her mother died. That's what happened. He read the obituaries and saw, because she wrote obituaries, including her own mother's own. And then, so Zeb was like, Iris, why did you not say anything? That you should have said something. Okay, I'm going to give you a few days off for bereavement. This is that. So that's when he dawned on Iris, like, I really don't want to work here. I don't want a few days off. She just said, I don't want it. I quit. The Zeb guy, he gave her last salary, and then she left. Roman tried to stop her. He couldn't, not even as her pen pal, because she would not open the letter. because she did not want somebody to change her mind. So they both thought it's the end of their communication. They thought that it's the magic of oaths that is making them be able to exchange letters. But the next day, Iris packed as light as possible, and then she went to Ink Reading Tribune, the Gazette, the Gazette main rival, main competitor. She went there to apply as war correspondent. Remember that in part A, it was Zeb himself that showed them. So you can see how ironic it is. It's this boss now that she just quit from that showed them that Ink Reading Tribune has positions open for war correspondents that is paying double what Iris earns at her current position at the Gazette. Do you get? So that's where Iris now went to, because being war correspondent would bring her closer to the front lines, closer to her brother, hopefully. So she now agreed. She now went to Ink Reading Tribune, applied there. The boss, Helena, happened to see Iris's typewriter, because that whole show me your typewriter, you can only take this, is that, things like that now, just normal procedures and things. So when Helena saw Iris's typewriter, she now revealed the mystery behind the typewriter. The mystery behind the silver imprinted words, the third alouette, because it had it at the back, the silver engraving at the back end part, like the underside of the typewriter. So now said that there are actually only 3 alouettes. And these things were created because a rich man's daughter, Alouette, she was sick, and then she had 2 best friends, but she was sick with tuberculosis, the cough thing, and it's highly contagious. So her friends could no longer come to the house, and her father really wanted her to somehow be able to keep in touch with her friends, although she's sick. So he now contacted this man to make these 3 typewriters, so the man made it in a magical house, a magical street, things like that. And there were only 3 of them, very unique typewriters. So Alouette had it, that's a rich man's daughter, with her 2 friends, which it's turning out that one of them now, Iris's nan, Daisy Winnow, Dew. That's what's under there. So the third typewriter, we are assuming that is Roman, like somehow the person is related to Roman. So we're going to find out, okay? So that's it. That's the history of the typewriters. And these typewriters are what's gold, because the first Alouette, the one that belonged to the girl, Alouette, that's her name actually. That's why it's named after her, the typewriters. The one that her father is rich now. The first Alouette is actually in the museum. And the other 2, if the other 2 turn up, the other 2 typewriters, this one that what's her name has, Iris has, if it turns up in the museum, is so much money. She can literally sell it on a very high bid and get a lot of money and be comfortable and do other things. But she's like, she's not going to sell it. She's going to take it to war. And Helena was like, oh, I thought so. Things like that. Because even Helena wanted to get it somehow. But hey, she's not selling. So let's wait for her. So when Roman got home from work that day, his father, Ronald, had on his table a strange crate labeled caution, handle with care. So Roman just told his dad, I'm not getting married. Ronald was like, is it because of that girl at the office? Is it because of Iris? That low life? That was when Roman now found out that his father is having him followed, because it's like, oh, both of you were on the park the other day, this is that, how can you be seen with such a girl? It's a good thing that your engagement wasn't already announced by that time you were with the girl, this is that, and you went to her house too. So that's when Roman was like, when would you stop, when would you stop having me followed? Ronald was like, when you get married. Do you understand? He said that, well, after you get married, Roman, you can sleep with anyone, but just don't give her your child. That kind of thing, like you should not have a child with her. Roman exploded. Like, why would his dad be looking down on people like that? So Ronald showed the crate containing bombs, at least what Roman assumed to be bombs. And, that crate that was labeled caution, handle with care. And the chemist and his daughter, Eleanor, the one that they want Roman to marry, they're the ones that made it in their lab. So Ronald wanted to be in a position to take titles when that crate came to Oates. That's why he's doing all these things. Because so that he can finally no longer be looked as new money, but be looked as an elite of Cambria. Cambria is a country where this story is taking place in. So when he wants to, he's a Dacre loyalist. He's loyal to Dacre just for title, because it's looking obvious that Dacre would win. And we're going to see more reasons why soon, okay? So Roman was disgusted with his father. Ronald, his father, reminded his son, Roman, that he should protect his mom, who is still grieving because of Roman's recklessness. Obviously, bringing up that guilt card again. So in his room, Roman was just going through this maelstrom of emotions, like so many things are hitting him on all at once. So he now hid Iris's letters on the floorboard, just in case his father ransacks his things and his room, so that he won't see those letters and go after Iris one way or the other. I mean, this is a rich, bitter man. Somehow he would find a way. So he wanted to protect Iris, so he hid her letters beneath the floorboard of his room. Now, the last detail about the Alouette typewriters is that the man who designed it, who put them together, the man vanished afterwards. So they don't know if it's God or human or anything that designed those typewriters, okay? So I feel like more history and more myths and more things about these typewriters will come up later. But right now, it's just typewriters that can, that friends used to use to communicate with, three friends. Used to allow them to communicate with each other no matter the distance. Obviously, instantly, as soon as she heard the story of this typewriters, that's when it clicked to Iris that this might be what is connecting her to whoever she's writing to, the nameless guy, even though she doesn't know for sure. But she's like, that's a big suspicion. Maybe it's not the house, okay? Maybe it's not. So maybe it's not oats and the magic in it. Okay, so Helena, the boss at Ink Reading Tribune, she gave Iris some instructions about this new place that she's going to be going to. She now said, okay, you're going to Avalon Bluff. That's 600 kilometers west of Oats. It's close to the front lines where the war is currently raging on. There is a new chancellor, not the same chancellor as here. They have different laws. Pay attention to the rules so that you don't die. Okay, everything there is important so you don't die. That's a big consequence. So Helena wanted facts and stories sent through the train every 6 days. She gave all the instructions. You can't carry so much clothes because they gave them a jumpsuit with in the front of it. It has this war correspondent tag to show that the neutral party in the war. I mean, neutral is relative because if the enemy side gets you, they might kill you because they don't care if you're neutral. Okay? So you're still kind of, in a way, reporting incidents in favor of Enver. Most of them are, although you're meant to be neutral in quotes. Okay? So she got on the train. Halfway through the journey, the train stopped. It said that it would continue at night because the zone they're about to enter, it's like really dangerous. So on the train, Iris happened to meet another girl, Thea Atwood, but they call her Athy. So not Thea, just Athy. She's another war correspondent, still from Ink Reading Tribune. So the way Thea was wearing her grey jumpsuit, her war correspondent jumpsuit was more stylish. I mean, and Thea is older than Iris by 2 years old. So by the time the train moved in the night and they arrived at Avalon Bluff, their destination, it was like 10:30 p.m. and it felt haunted. The town so quiet. The moon had this fingernail, that shaped like a fingernail, very more than half crescent. It was dark. It was quiet, total silence. So they found a bed and breakfast that they'll be staying at. They met Marisol, and even when they knocked, so the way she came in, she was careful. Who is there? She was like, oh. So when they came, she was like, hurry, come inside. I never know who's out on the streets. And it's not like there's no electricity or anything, because you can see the fridge was working when they opened it. But the lights are out. They're using candles. So we're about to know why this is happening, okay? And then you need to see the windows are covered with boards and doors as though to keep something out. It's all strange. It's all like has this creepy feel going on. So Marisol is 33 years old, but she has the looks of a 25-year-old. Like, she looks really young, really baby, really pretty. So Marisol fed them very well. After now finished, now started sharing the rules with them and said, oh yeah, there are 3 different sirens that happen in this place. The first siren will wail continuously at night. And when you hear that wailing continuously at night, you know you have 3 minutes to off all the lights, to lock yourself inside. That means hounds are coming. Those hounds that look like wolves now that Dakra used to send from underground. You get? So then the second siren is that it wails continuously at day. And when you hear the siren, you have only 2 minutes before 8 trails arrive. Those things that look like dragons now, but only have 2 legs. Those disgusting things. They don't breathe fire actually, but they carry bombs in their clothes. So people that are Dakra loyalists will make bombs and put it there. Dakra will know how he's so. Do you get? So if you're inside your house, lower the windows, sit quietly. If you're outside, lie down. Wherever you are, stay still, because apparently I think they're blind also, because they don't see people. They mostly act based on sound. So it's why trains don't move around at daytime because you can easily outrun hounds at night than outrun H-rails that fly in, that can just drop bomb on the train, and that's the disaster. Okay, so now the last siren is that it wails intermittently at any time. At any time at all. It has not wailed yet, but the moment you hear that kind of siren, it means that the soldiers in the front lines have failed, the enemy is coming, and everybody should flee to the next town. So for that reason, they have what you know as dash packs prepared, ready in the pantry with supplies that can take each person, like dash packs now, small bags that should be able to take you to the next town, at least has food and basic essentials to keep you walking, or however until you get to the next town. So sirens are in a town with a great vantage point, like the next town, Clover Hill. It has a great vantage point that can see when those creatures, whether it's the H-rails or hounds, are coming. That's how they're able to warn other surrounding places like Avalon Bluff and that. So by morning, Marisol told them we'll take food to the infirmary and to the wounded soldiers. So it now came time. She took them up above the stairs, asked them to choose their rooms. And although electricity is available, nobody turned on bulbs. Everybody just said, let them carry candle. That's another reason why they use candles. It's easier to blow off candle, like to just hold a candle than to do that than to turn off a bulb. So that night, Iris couldn't sleep. So she now wrote to the nameless body, that her nameless friend now. She now asked that, do you happen to have the other half of the myth? That first myth he shared now about Enva and Dakri, things like that. She now told him that about the silence and the new place she's at, and she thinks there is a magical link between them. So she have expected the paper to disappear, because this is the first time she's writing to him after she found out about their connected typewriters. The paper disappeared. So the nameless somebody replied Iris's letter in 2 minutes. He was like, you're 600 kilometers away from Oath? Did you go to war? He was all concerned. And then she replied, it's different here. It's quieter in a strange way. Shadows, silence, locked doors, whispers. And then she told him, I'm still grieving, but just like you said, I'm learning how to navigate it. And then she's like, so about that myth, can you still get it? Then he's like, okay, there's no promises I'll find it. The first one is even by luck I found it. But you be safe and well. I'll do my best and things like that. So the next day, Marisol's neighbor, Peter, he had this roasted green lorry. So Marisol, Iris and Arthur, they loaded baskets of bread that Marisol had baked onto the lorry with 2 soups. So that's food for the soldiers. They now drove to the infirmary. So some soldiers were missing limbs, some with bandaged faces, burns, scars, just a horrific sight. Some were upright and talkative. So the air tasted like cherry medicine syrup, lemon floor cleaner, cold stainless steel, all cloaking a hint of sickness. Like, it's not a good place to be at. So the girls had intended to interview the soldiers, but then when you're met with such a grieving sight, it seems so inconsequential. Like, why should I be interviewing these guys for news, seeing what they're going through? Let's be a human being. Let's be compassionate. So that's how Iris ended up finding out that what one soldier girl wanted is letters that they wanted sent to their families. So just like that, she started writing down letters, taking down letters that many of the soldiers wanted sent to their family members. So as for how she could reach her brother, since I'm looking for my brother, that's the reason why I even agreed to come here. It's my only family. This is that. One girl was like, you can write a letter to so-and-so person, but hey, it may not, this is a time of war. Things are in disarray, but just write. So at that night, when she went home, Iris typed all the letters that the soldiers wanted to be sent to their families. So when she finished, that moment she just finished with the last letter and she just removed it from the typewriter, a letter arrived from the nameless boy, like the other half of the myth. So actually he confessed that his nan had helped him. He had to bribe her with biscuits and a visit, and also had to endure some grammar things. Now with some grammar said, that why do you have pointed chin like your father? Why is your hair long? You look something like a rogue or a knight errant. Like, Sasha, just grammar, rough talk, but it's full of love, things like that. He had to endure it to get this other half of the mate's tale. And so the nan, how she told the story is that Emma wasn't happy when she had to go beneath ground to stay with Dakre. After, now she did it so that he would stop waging war on mankind and things like that. She wasn't happy in the realm below. No matter what what's his name, Dakre tried to do for her. She was not happy. She really smiled, and he really wanted to please her. I was not like, okay, can you play and sing your music for us? Because he knows that whenever she sings her music, does her music, her face is glowing. So he gathered everybody, his minions, his hounds, his atrials, his human servants, his ugly horde of brothers. Everybody came together in the courts. And that's when she now started playing her music. Initially, it was a lamenting song because she was unhappy now. And she noticed that everybody became sad. Tears were in their eyes. She was not like, why is my music influencing them like this? She now did joyful song. Everybody was boisterous. Playing, shouting. So take she come fear, say stone go fall on their head. Then next thing, she now sang a lullaby. Everybody slept. They slept for 3 days. She took that time to study the underground fortress. She memorized the twists, the bends, the secret doorways. Okay. Then by the time they were waking up, and then they saw that the light had long since died and everything, and then they thought she was gone. She's like, oh no, I'm here. I just woke up a minute ago too. You know, that kind of thing. Then a week later, Dakre was like, I missed your song. Sing for us again. She sang the same thing, and then she now sang the lullaby twice as long, and they slept for 6 days. So by the time they woke up, she was gone for good. It's not like that one angry, Dakre gathered everybody, let's go for war. But by the time he came out of the underground realm to fight now, Enva was ready. She was waiting with the host of the sky. And then they fought them, chased them down back inside there. Her arrow even shot him. So he retreated into the fire of the earth. He was planning revenge. But no matter how much he would try, he would not win, because Enva knew his underground fortress well. So 2 centuries later, Enva now came again to that underground place with her harp, and then she vowed to put them to sleep for at least 100 years. So there's been debates by humans who, was she successful, was she not successful? Because these things are myths to them. They don't know for sure. So, but the lessons most human beings drew from the story is, it's not wise to offend a musician, and choose your lovers wisely. So this myth, as she now received the second part and she heard about it was not making Iris wonder, are you sure it's not Enva that made those 4 gods sleep? You know, the other 4 gods that they're thinking, both Dakre and some other ones again that would probably come up as we continue the book. Are you sure that it's not only their 4 graves, she put them to sleep, and then she has just been wandering in secret, the only god, but she was just alive and stayed very low key? Maybe she struck a deal with mortals, and then the mortals now said, they put the gods to sleep, but it's her. No wonder Dakre, it made sense, because when you're thinking that Dakre woke with his revenge in his blood, chasing Enva, are you sure it's not her that did that thing to him? So she now wrote back to Nameless Boy and thanked him up for sending the letter to her and sharing the myth. Now told him about the wounded and dying soldiers at the infirmary that she met, that they don't regret fighting against the evil, but they actually just want one thing: for their letters to reach home. She now pleads with him to send them to her loved ones, that should pay for postage. He's more like, that he doesn't mind. Then she also asked him, what about your typewriter? Does it have a silver plug on the side? And what's engraved there? He now replied that the typewriter he uses belonged to his grandma, that's his nan. And it had this engraving, the second Alouette, made especially for HMA, his nan's initials. So that's, their grandma were friends. Their grandmothers were friends. So he also immediately concluded, I think we're connected by typewriters. Really smart guy. Catches on super quick. Iris was in the process of replying to what he said, and then she now heard the wail of a siren. That's the hound siren. She only had 3 minutes.